Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Lalit Mehta, who is the co-founder of Decimal Technologies, which is a fintech startup that works in the domain of banking sales enablement. Hi Lalit, welcome to ELI.
Thank you so much, Ranjan, and I'm glad to be on this platform. Love the cause that you are kind of serving. Thank you.
I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience, please.
So I'm Lalit Mehta, co-founder and CEO of a company called Decimal Technologies. I have been running this firm for 12 years now, and we are in the space of financial services and technology. So people call it fintech or tech fin, either way as you can call it. I personally have been working for almost about 25 years now. This is my fourth venture. I've been into entrepreneurship earlier as well, and I think it is ever fulfilling. It's always great to be in entrepreneurship. uh, I'm by qualification, I'm a mechanical engineer, and I have done my MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, and a couple of friends from IIM Ahmedabad, we together run this venture called Decimal. That's about me.
Okay. Before we start talking about Decimal, can you help us set a context on what is banking sales enablement and how does it work?
Yeah. So if you look at the biggest driver of economy in any organ, any country, any nation, is financial services. We need financial services for the supply of money to run any business, to run any venture or our
Correct.
personal needs, in the form of credit, in the form of deposits, in the form of market access. So now what happens is the entire efficiency in the financial services is something which is very important for country's economy to grow at a certain speed, or to kind of really deliver the aspirations that all of us have. Now, for that to happen, so what needs to be done is the entire enablement of banking ecosystem through digital to bring in efficiency. So there are two, three broad reasons why because of which banks and financial services invest money in digital. The first one is, of course, efficiency. We want to kind of do the same thing in larger quantity at a lower cost in lesser time. That's how I would define efficiency. Now, whether it's kind of delivering a loan, or it's kind of delivering a savings account, or any product for that matter. So efficiency is one reason.
Right.
Second reason is transparency. Transparency, and today what happens is the taking the dependence away from knowledge of limited few people,
Hmm.
making it more data driven rather than people driven, is something which is very important, which is scalable. It is impossible for any financial services organization to leave the decision in the hands of a few people, because that's not scalable model. So then
Right.
your ability to service the market is very limited. So that's a second reason. And third reason is, like, the entire risk containment also happens because you have a lot of data which you can analyze. So rather than going with the perception of risk, now people analyze risk through data. So all that is kind of what digital enables today. So that's what Salesforce enablement, or I would say the entire industry enablement, is all about. And this is all being done through digital today. And I think it's serving a great purpose.
Okay. Now tell us about decimal technologies. What are the technologies we have and how do we enable the banking process?
Sure. So Decimal, we started working with banking sector from 2014 onwards. And I think at that time, the biggest challenge was that banks wanted to grow. They wanted to go beyond their branches. So, if you look at 10 years in the past, people used to visit bank for anything and everything, right? And then the entire mobility, or like the internet banking, mobile banking started when people started to transact. The transaction started to happen on internet, whether it was
Hmm.
internet banking or mobile banking. But still, the entire sales, entire servicing of customers was still happening in the branch. So if you
Hmm.
have to open a savings account, you had to go to kind of a bank branch. If you have to, let's say, change your mobile number, or let's say you have to change your address, you still had to visit a branch. This is like what used to happen maybe 10 years back. The whole idea was that if banks had to expand, then the expansion had to happen by reaching more customers, and for that the banks had to go beyond their branches. So
True.
we enabled the banks in the beginning to go beyond their branches, their salespeople to go to the market, to the house of a customer and open an account, or go to the office of a customer and open an account, or to kind of open an FD, or to do a loan,
mm,
and all digital, all being done instantly and digital. So that's what we started with, and today we kind of that of course continues. We do a lot more than that, which is like we do the complete process of customer acquisition. So if you look at for whether it's savings account, current account, term deposits, fixed deposits, or lending, we
mm.
do end customer acquisition process, which means onboarding of customers, KYC, collecting their documents, doing decision making on behalf of the bank through our system, and then finally doing the fulfillment of the complete product. So that's what Decimal does for most of the banks. There's another part of Decimal where we focus only on lending, which is called Sarathi. And Sarathi is a lending platform where we enable offline channels, which is like DSAs and offline channels, to do lending completely digitally. So we enable them to kind of service many more customers, give them the right products which the customer needs. That's what Sarathi does today.
Okay. Now take us through the evolution journey of decimal technologies. Uh, how it all started? What was the who were the initial people who came together to build this venture, and how did we find the initial set of customers?
Great. So I think it's very nostalgic, when you talk about history. But so I'll try and kind of cover as much as I can. So we started in 2012. I used to work in US, New York, uh, until 2007. I used to work with this company called ADP. Came back to India in 2007 and joined Ahmedabad for my MBA.
Mhm,
Uh, and I was always keen on entrepreneurship. Never wanted to join a typical job from campus. So I did not take any campus offer from Ahmedabad. And I picked up a job in a private equity fund because that would have kept me closer to the startup ecosystem.
mm,
So I spent about 2 years uh, helping startups in India to scale up, to do better through that private equity firm. And I was not on the investment side, I was on the portfolio management side.
okay.
So, since I was always keen on entrepreneurship, in 2009, this entire mobility world was kind of, coming up. iPhone was launched. Just in 2007, 8, iPhone had come up, Android had come up. So, this entire thing was kind of, the opportunity was seeming to be opening up at that time. So I was very keen on that side. So that's when we started Decimal. And what could have been better than, a few of us friends coming from the classmates coming together to start Decimal. So
Mm,
three of us who were classmates in Ahmedabad came together and started Decimal. And I think it has been a fantastic journey with friends. So that's the first thing. And banking, financial services, and mobility. This combination was something that I was excited about. I understood financial services because that's where I used to work in the US. In the US, I
mhm,
used to work with this company which was in financial services. Technology, basically, I'm mechanical, computer science and information technology. So wanted to do something in the combination of these. Now, looking at, trying to recall first customers, couple of few customers, I think the first few customers came through references. Uh, the first customer was ITC, which was not financial services, but ITC was our first customer. And ITC was customer because one of our classmates from Ahmedabad was kind of, a senior officer in ITC, and he was struggling with a problem. And
mhm.
once we were sitting for a dinner together, and he talked about that problem, and we kind of gave him confidence that we can solve that problem. And he said, "Why don't you do a POC for us?" We did a POC for them, and that the POC worked well, and ITC became a customer. Similarly, I think next 2, 3 customers again came through references. So I think for us, we have built this business through only two things, I would say. First, the entire circle that we had, circle of friends, and who were always trying to help, classmates in Ahmedabad or our undergrad days who were trying to help. And second, when we were working with a customer, we did our best. We kind of tried to return the best possible on the investment done by the customer. And every customer became a reference for us. So I think it's word of mouth that we have been kind of, we have got all, pretty much our entire business. We have, out of whatever customers we have, I think 80% customers came through references only.
Can you also tell us what were the initial setup product? In fact, what was the first product and the first three products that you built at Decimal?
Sure, sure. So if you look at first product, since ITC was a customer and we were in the mobility space, ITC had this problem that they were not able to track their salespeople in the rural areas. So they had struggle of, so ITC people would go and book orders for distributors in the rural areas. But that was all done on paper, and paper was given to the distributor. But ITC had no idea about the productivity. ITC had no idea about which retailer is booking order for what products. So there was no visibility in the tertiary part of the value chain.
Mm-hmm.
So on the tertiary sales side, there was no kind of visibility. So ITC was grappling with that problem. And we kind of, we created mobile application, which was given in the hands of salespeople. So they used to book order on a Nokia mobile phone at that time. It wasn't a smartphone. And they would select the retailer name, they would select the product and quantity, and the order will automatically go to the distributor and to ITC. So that brought in the complete visibility of the one, productivity of the sales team. Second, what kind of products are being demanded by what kind of retailers in which areas. So I think that worked out fantastic for ITC, and that became a huge project in ITC later. And we were serving pretty much like entire North India for ITC at that time.
Mm-hmm.
That was our first product. And second was with Max Life Insurance.
Okay.
So Max Life Insurance was doing very good business at that time through agents. They had some 30,000 agents who were active on the field, who were kind of selling insurance policies. And the problem was again the same. Max Life had no visibility of the pipeline, which means, these agents are meeting, 30,000 agents are meeting 50,000 people or 90,000 people. So what business should ITC expect? And what kind of deals they are losing? They never knew. So how would they train people if they don't know what they are losing on? So their struggle was twofold. They could not predict their business, and second, they could not very heuristically or very data driven decision could not be made on what kind of training need to be done for which agents. So that was a problem, business problem that they were struggling with. So we gave again a mobile application which was on feature phones again. At that time, smartphones were not very popular, and even data connectivity was not popular. So not everybody had data connectivity. I remember, for GPRS activation, you had to call Airtel and you had to call Hutch, and then they would activate your GPRS. So not everybody had data. So we gave mobile application in the hands of agents. Every agent would would kind of record all the leads that they meet with, all the people that they meet with on daily basis, and then which lead gets converted, they would record on the phone. It was a very simple application, but that worked amazingly well for Max Life. And I remember the product name, it was called Activizer. And it was used by 30,000 agents. And it really brought in a lot of value for Max Life. They were able to predict the business, one, because they had a visibility of pipeline. And second, they were able to identify what kind of leads agents were losing. So what kind of training was needed for them. And then kind of that grew up into a new work system. They called it new work system in Max Life, which was the entire sales process was revamped. This is the data which was kind of churned out by this application. So it was a fantastic initiative. And the management of Max Life had a great vision, and we created that for them. It worked out fantastic for them. And just to kind of tell you another thing, which must be surprising for youngsters of today.
Sure.
All these applications, since there was no GPRS connectivity, all these applications used to work on SMS network, which means the two-way data communication from phone to server and server to phone used to happen on SMS, because everybody did not have GPRS connectivity. So it was kind of, it was a very, I would say the programming at that time was far more complex, because you had to go beyond the means available to make the things happen. So Android and not many programmers were available on those feature phones. We had to write J2ME code and all to kind of create those applications. So I think those times were really innovative, I would say. Of course, innovation continues to happen today as well. But I think that was a time when the whole idea was to go beyond the means that are available to solve the problem. So today technology has advanced far more, and there are many more means available. But that time you didn't have too many means. So I think that these were our first products, and we kind of And I think we still take pride in the products that we created then. I think they were fantastic products. They solved real problems on the ground.
I think that is so interesting and kind of sets a DNA for the technology and the company as well to go beyond the means. Uh, can you tell us what are the different challenges that you have faced so far while building and growing this venture?
So, Priyanjan, the whole idea is, if you look at it, when you talk of challenges in entrepreneurship, the biggest challenge in entrepreneurship is uncertainty. You don't know that whether your next month's salary is going to come or not to come. For the entrepreneur himself, for sure, I think the biggest challenge is your ability to stay focused, your ability to stay on the path, your ability to stay energized with all the uncertainty that's around you. So one thing that, and especially in the initial days, when you start a business, and now if you look at today, the entire environment of investment is far more evolved and much better. It kind of offers far better, what do you call, uh, opportunity to the entrepreneurs, and not to everyone, but to at least the selected few. That a lot of uncertainty is taken care of. But if you're not a funded organization and when you're growing, the biggest challenge is that you may not get customers every month. You may not get, you may not find relevant customers every month. And not that because your product market fit is not there or your product is not good, because the whole idea is the reach to the market needs money. It needs kind of deep pockets. You need to be able to reach to the people who need that product. It's not just about having a product, it's also about connecting the product with the potential customers. So I think
Hmm.
that takes huge amount of effort. It takes huge amount of reach in the market to make that happen. So that's the biggest challenge. And the biggest challenge is that you as an entrepreneur cannot have a day where you kind of you give up. The biggest challenge is that you're the biggest risk to the entrepreneurship. So the entrepreneur himself is the biggest risk to the venture. The day entrepreneur feels low or gives up, I think that day the business is kind of business is at the highest risk of coming down. So that's kind of the biggest challenge that I would say. But I think other challenges, if you look at challenges around funding, challenges around hiring the best talent. If you're not funded, then your ability to hire the best talent is not there. You can't really pay in competition to the funded organizations. So then since you don't have the best talent, your ability to kind of innovate and do the best products in the market, world class products, that also diminishes. So that's these are it's all about for, especially for sectors like ours where it's all technology driven. It's all about people. It's all about people. What kind of team you create in the beginning,
Hmm.
and not just kind of technology people, but everybody. I think initial couple of people decide the path of your organization. So first couple of people need to be absolutely committed. You as an entrepreneur need to have ability to keep them motivated, because when you have that entire uncertainty, they also understand and they also see that uncertainty. They're also
Hmm.
not sure if they're going to grow with the company or the company is not going to grow. So I think it's the problems around people, whether it's about capability or keeping them motivated or making sure that they are committed and you kind of showing them their growth, was another second set of problem, which needs to be taken care of. Other than that, I think the problems are when you are small, the customers are not willing to pay you money, which is kind of uh, which is comparable to what they pay to the large organizations, which
Hmm.
is unfair. Which is you may be solving the same problem. You are solving the same problem, but another branded organization is also solving the same problem. Your
True.
product may be even better than them, but still you may not be paid the way they are paid. So you need to be very very conscious about uh, your positioning. You need to be very very conscious about when you are going to the customer, what kind of positioning you create in front of them, that decides your compensation for the product, that decides your pricing. So I think their entire desperation does not need to come there. You need to kind of entrepreneurs are desperate. They are desperate to make the success happen. But that
Right.
desperation needs to be somewhere latent and it needs to be hidden somewhere. You
Hmm.
can't have the desperation come out. So on one side, you're desperate to close the product or close the deal. On the other side, you need to show that swag and that you are doing the best thing, you want the best price for that. So I think those are certain things that entrepreneurs in the initial days struggle with. But I think the good thing is that there are in India, entrepreneurship has seen amazing evolution in the last couple of years. Now there are a lot of people, those who can mentor, those who can really help younger people to grow and come out of these problems. So I think now the ecosystem is far more evolved to help entrepreneurship as a purpose, I would say, rather than profession. So I think that's something which is there today. But these problems are the ones which are more like which are fundamental and which are
Right.
there with all kinds of businesses, whether you're in technology, you're in e-commerce, you are in trading or whatever. These are the problems that you come across in pretty much all the businesses.
True, true, so true. Lalit, you spoke about staying focused as an entrepreneur. So, as an entrepreneur, you are expected to stay focused and energetic throughout the journey. And when you are not focused, not consistent, then your business also suffer, which you also rightly mentioned. But can you tell us how do you manage situations where you get restless, tired, or you lose focus?
So let me first tell you that what brings that focus and what brings that passion for anything. The
True.
biggest thing that kind of affects your passion or your ability to stay focused or ability to sustain through uncertainty and challenges is your belief in what you're doing. So I think if you believe in what you are doing, then your ability to go out and give your best is far higher.
Hmm.
So I think if you don't believe in something, you don't believe in the cause of that thing, even if it pays you tons of money, you don't really, your ability to deliver the best is compromised for sure. So the
True.
first thing is that, your belief in what you're doing.
Hmm.
So I think the biggest, the one thing that I would go out and advise is whenever we are picking up any venture, I think it's very important to pick the area or kind of start a venture in the area where we have a very strong belief.
Hmm.
I think today you can, there are best companies, there are unicorns, there are billion-dollar companies in every line of business. You could be a billion-dollar company by creating a services business. You could be a billion-dollar company in technology space. You could be a billion-dollar company by just providing kind of, maybe cleaning services. So,
Hmm.
you could be a billion-dollar company in providing kind of security services. The whole idea is that if your belief is there, then, that is the best area to get into. That's the first thing I would say. But having said so, while you have belief, there are times when you feel low, you feel
Hmm.
drained, you feel that is a time two things help. One is family support. So your friends and family support is something that that is very very helpful. If your friends and family or your your ecosystem which is around you, if that is supporting you, then when you get back home, somebody at home is there to tell you कि चिंता मत कर ठीक हो जाएगा. That those are the
Right.
words you want to kind of listen to. So those are the words that you're waiting for, and I think it's important to take your family and your very close knit ecosystem with you. They should have the buy-in. They should
Hmm.
be along with you when you are trying to set up a business. And I'm talking a very organic business. Today, business could be kind of, there could be, the company could be a unicorn in like, let's say 1 year's time or 6 months time. But I'm
Hmm.
talking of, conventionally, when an entrepreneur starts business, it takes a couple of years to kind of get to a certain scale. It takes a couple of years to kind of, get your product to a stage where it is kind of, accepted by the market. So when you're going through that time, I think your belief, the support from family and immediate friends is something which is immensely helpful. Then I think another thing which is really helpful is that even, there is no business when you don't see pitfalls or bad days, or when you're feeling low. Even if you're selling gold, even in kind of pure gold business, you have days when the price is not right, when you're
Right.
not doing the best. So I think you don't think of selecting a business where you will not have bad days. The idea is to make sure that even if you have bad days, you will sustain through them. There is no business where you won't have bad days. The only thing is you need to see your belief, your family, and if you are really kind of doing good job in terms of serving your customers well, then customers are your biggest motivation. Customers come back and they tell you that don't worry, you are doing a good job. they'll come back and give you business when your time is low. They'll when you've served the customer well, those customers will come back and support you when when the going gets tough. So I think uh, while every transaction, every time we do business, we make money from customers, but doing justice to customers, doing uh, you're kind of delivering what you are charging for is
mm,
something. If you stand by that, then I think your customers come back and motivate you. That's the biggest motivation. And the way I said, we have been building this business only through references. So our customers have given us uh, more business. They have given us references. They have come back and stood by us when we were going through tough times. And by that it means, when you need money, some customers have come back and given us advance. They would come as when I remember in a couple of years back, there were customers who said, okay, fine, we understand if you need money, we're okay to give you this money in advance. So I think that's another thing, which really helps you. So I think the entire uh, your value system, if that value system is kind of quite aligned, the business has to make money, but the purpose of business cannot be making money. Making money is incidental. So
mm.
business has to scale up, business has to grow, but the growth is not the purpose. The growth has to be incidental. The purpose has to be solve some real challenge to kind of serve some customer. Once you do that, I think it's kind of those kind of things. The environment itself comes back and motivates you. The people around you, whether it's customers, your partners, your employees, your family, they come back and motivate you. So I believe in, the fundamentals of doing business have to be absolutely strong. If you have strong fundamentals, if you have strong belief, I think things work out.
I think that is so true. Uh, I just have two more questions for you due to constraint of
Yeah.
time. Tell us, what is the meaning of entrepreneurship for you? How do you define the term entrepreneur?
Very, very difficult question. Very difficult. I'll try to do justice to that, but yeah, but great question. So if you look at, the entire entrepreneurship is, I relate entrepreneurship with creation. So if you look at, if you look at mother creates life, right?
Mm,
Entrepreneurs create economy, they create business. So entrepreneurship is, I relate entrepreneurship with creation. And I think if you look at why are entrepreneurs willing to go through a tough life, fail, again, come back and do entrepreneurship again, and may not succeed again, by the way.
mm,
The only reason is because, the sense of creation, uh, it gives you that, it's so fulfilling. It's so fulfilling that, you have created something from scratch. You are able to kind of, contribute to the world, or the nation economy, through what you have created, is a fantastic feeling, I would say. It's a fantastic thing that, that one goes through. I think the journey of creating something, seeing that thing to contribute to the world, to the life of people, and to your life also, is a very fascinating thing. So, how, imagine how a mother kind of, she's so happy to see her kid grow. She, and the kid may not give anything back to the mother, but
mm.
mother is still quite happy with, kid growing, and kid kind of, doing very well in life. I think it's a similar feeling. It's a very similar feeling that entrepreneurs go through. So entrepreneurship is all about creation. It's all about, your ability to create, and your ability to create when you're not able to see beyond a certain point as well. So, the whole idea is that uh, you have to see something which is not very obvious, which is not very visible to everyone. And then you are willing to put your opportunity cost at a risk. You are willing to kind of, put anything else they could have done at a risk and go for it. So that's, I think that's what entrepreneurs do. And I think, I don't think it's about whether you scale up, you become unicorn, or you don't become a unicorn. I think every entrepreneur, uh, I have huge respect for entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs. The kind of, the creation that they do, they're the ones who propel the economy. They're the ones who kind of, create new opportunities in the economy, for the economy to grow. So I think that's how I relate to entrepreneurship.
Okay. My final question to you: tell us the different lessons that you have learned as an entrepreneur, which we can take away and apply to our lives and especially our ventures that we'll build.
Great. So I think couple of things which I personally think. First is uh, it's all about working with humans. So even if you're in the uh, business of manufacturing something which is completely robotic, still people, those who work for business, are the ones who define the business. So
Mm,
be very, very conscious about uh, whom you hire, whom you deal with, how you deal with them. You have to have a humanitarian, empathetic view for people. That's the first learning that I have. Second learning, I think your value system that you define for the organization, uh, whether it's value system of respect or value system of excellence, you need to live that thoroughly. So I think your value system needs to reflect uh, values of the founders, entrepreneur, or founding team. That has to reflect in the organization. So you have to build a very strong culture around the values that initial people bring to the table. You can't fake it. Don't even try to fake it. That's the second message I would have. Uh, Third message I would have is that today in this world of innovation, uh, earlier if you look at the entire businesses grew on the power of scale, on the power of what I would say money. But I would say this is a time when the growth is going to led by uh, design and innovation. So you need to, and unfortunately, we in India need to be a little more strong in design specifically, I would say.
mm,
We might be great at kind of, services. We are great at maybe scaling up. But I think something that we need to understand is designing something uh, which is kind of innovative and creating the design that is far more scalable, far more accepted in the market is very, very important. We don't really focus on the design aspect of it. We don't focus on the design of our roads. We don't focus on the design of our
mm,
kind of civil infrastructure that we create. So I think it's very, very important to focus on design. And I think one counter argument or like argument which is contrary to this is we are focused on speed. We think ki bas sab jaldi ho jaye. All of us, we think that okay. I think by seeking speed, you do not get speed. You want to drive fast does not mean that you are actually driving fast. So I think it's very important to focus on the right aspects of business and design being one of them. That actually gives you speed rather than you trying to kind of produce something hurriedly that does not succeed and then you try three more attempts to make it successful. Rather than that, design it right the first time.
mm.
I think these are certain learnings that I have had. I think a couple of other things that one more thing I would not want to kind of talk of too many learnings. Otherwise, it will not be because everything is a learning. Every day is a learning. One last thing I would want to say is that uh, don't try to do everything and anything that comes your way. Stay focused. It's very, very important to do so. Less is more. The message is less is more.
Mm.
The idea is as an entrepreneur, you have ability to see opportunity in everything. You have ability to kind of see every possibility that may happen, but you can't solve all the problems. You can't create 20 businesses in like 2 years. So try to make sure that whatever you're doing, make it excellent, make it scalable, scale it up. Go deep in that rather than kind of spreading yourself too thin. Go deep in what you're doing is something that I would advise people. I think I would just stop at that.
Thank you for joining us, Lalit, and it was very unique session for us because of the perspectives were very unique. Uh, Thanks for your time and our best wishes for Decimal Technologies.
Thank you so much. And thank you and best wishes for all the entrepreneurs who are listening out there. Thank you so much.